Hello everyone and welcome to It's a Veggie BLT PETA, which usually stands for I totally suck at video games but love to play them anyway, but today stands for I totally suck at video games but love to play them and watch anime, because I watch a lot of anime and I don't really talk about it on this channel. I mean, besides, you know, the anime convention videos I've posted and the talking about it I do when I'm playing anime-based games, or at least Japanese games. But I haven't done like a direct anime video yet. And what better way to start than with a tier list? I know, it's a little overdone. I don't care, I'm doing it anyway. And this is going to be for all the anime, I should say all the seasonal anime I watched in the winter and spring of 2021. So basically, the year of anime so far. Because I've watched a lot. Yeah. I will let you know that this is only for Crunchyroll, Funimation, and one exception, which I'll go over when I get to it. Only because, like, Netflix, with the Netflix jail, it's hard to count it with seasonal, like what season do you count it in. But I have watched some anime on Netflix too, some of the new stuff, but I won't go into that here. This is just seasonal that I can track, and I don't have a Sentai subscription, so sorry Sentai. So as far as rankings go, S means that I freaking loved it and I'll probably buy it unless it's prohibitively expensive, aka done by Aniplex USA. A means I really enjoyed it and maybe I'd buy it on sale, but otherwise it's just definitely a good experience I'd recommend. B is that was a fun watch. I probably won't think about it later, but it was fun while I was watching it. C is more like, I recognize this is not bad anime, but it's just not for me. And a D is more like, I finished it, but kind of begrudgingly, and more because I probably just invested too much time in it to not finish it. There's no F, because an F would be an anime I dropped, and I don't want to go over that. I'm just going over anime shows that I actually watched to completion. But I do have that little purple wheel, will watch eventually. I'll go over that just because there are some that I just didn't get to that I know are good, or everybody and their mother is saying they're good. I'll just kind of go over those real quick near the end. So without further ado, let's rank the anime I watched for the winter and spring season of 2021. Starting with The World Ends With You, the animation. I watched this on Funimation. I think that's the only place it's available. It's based off a game that came out on the Nintendo DS like over 10 years ago, like 2008 I think, and it is a fun game. I never beat it, but I got at least kind of far. It takes place in Shibuya, and I ended up bringing my DS when I went to Japan and like did a mini tour guide. I'm like, hey, here's this spot in the game. It was fun. So I have a lot of nostalgia for this game, and I think the anime did a pretty decent job as far as like making a game into an anime. It's hard, especially when, like, with RPGs where probably a good 60% of the game is just random battles and fighting. You can't really put that into the anime and make it entertaining. So the fights in this show go a little fast, but it's still pretty good. Like, level progression, like all of a sudden, boom, he can do this move, whereas in the game it would take like 2 hours to get there. But overall, I'm glad I watched it because the sequel game is coming out, and this anime did a great job of just kind of explaining the story and getting you caught up before the sequel, which I think was probably the point. But I'm gonna put it in a B, because while it was solid, it's not something I'm really gonna think about again probably. But I didn't mind it. I mean, I liked it, I should say. Next up is Backflip. This was on Crunchyroll. Oh, I should say The World Ends With You was from the spring season. Backflip is also from the spring season. This show surprised the heck out of me, and it ended up being like a super cute, good show. Like, the first episode's a little shaky because the computer animation for the gymnastics routine is like kind of like idle animation, you know, when they do like the dances and all of a sudden they turn 3D CG. But the characters in it are cute, like their growth and potential is cute, and it does have a good ending. I heard there's like a movie coming out that'll probably be, well, I'll just kind of mini spoiler. It'll probably be like the nationals or whatever the next tournament is. But there's so much that happens, and these guys and their rivals and everything. It was super cute. I really liked it a lot more than I thought I would. So it's gonna go with an A. I'm probably not gonna buy it, but like I said, I did enjoy it. Alright, next is Pretty Boy Detective Club. This was on Funimation and it was in the spring season, and this one was freaking great. I should specify it's by I'm gonna mispronounce the name, but Nishiosen or Nishiosen. I'm sorry about that. It's the same person who does like the Monogatari series, so like Bake Monogatari, Nisei Monogatari, all those wrote these novels. And I believe it's the same Studio Shaft, that does those anime that did this show. And you can tell it's gorgeous. It's got weird artistic flair like all over the place. The characters are amazing. I don't know. Everything about this show just screamed to me, including the opening. It's probably my favorite opening of the season, just because it was catchy and it had like some fun dancing scenes and it just worked so well. So this one I definitely recommend. It's if you can deal with slightly esoteric anime, because like there's going to be a lot of dialogue and it's going to have some weird ideas, but it's great. It is a visual feast and a good story and good characters. So this I probably will buy, like I said, unless it's prohibitively expensive. That goes in S tier for me. And next, Burning Kabaddi. I say because like these images are so small I can't remember what they are. So Burning Kabaddi, which was on Crunchyroll for the spring season. This one also surprised me. I know nothing about Kabaddi, but now I know things about Kabaddi, which is like a sport that's bigger, I think, in like India and other parts of Asia. But maybe it'll grow more now. It's essentially, anyone who's a Kabaddi fan will be like, whatever you're talking about, but it's essentially kind of like dodgeball tag, but there's no balls, but so that's like the tag part, but you can get other people out and then get them back in if you tag out. Anyway, it was an interesting sport to learn about. These dudes, except for like a couple, are beefcakes, so if you are into sports anime but you like your men on the beefier side, this is probably good for you. It is unfortunately my less liked sports to non-sports ratio, where I usually like 20-30% about the sport and like 70-80% about character interactions. This one is definitely the 80% sport, maybe even 90% sport. But it was cool. It was entertaining. It's a shonen anime, so you know how it goes. People learn things, they get defeated, they come back. That's how it is. Will I watch it again? I don't know. I didn't love the characters that much. It was entertaining while I was watching it, so I think it goes into B tier. If you are a sportsy fan, I think it's worth a watch. Or if you just want to learn about what Kabaddi is, it was cool. Alright. And then this one is Joran, the Princess of Snow and Blood. It was on Crunchyroll for the spring season. It's kind of a mess. I won't lie. It had some weird, cool potential. It's got good animation, but like the story and the characters, it kind of it rushed and didn't rush at the same time, and I don't know how that's possible. But like it breezes through some things, and yet doesn't go anywhere. Also, the ending was incredibly unsatisfying. But again, the fights and animation were cool. I think there were some cool ideas in this one, but it did not do what I wanted it to do. So that's gonna go in D tier. And I'm sorry, cause like maybe some people will like it. Gotta size it right, but it's not for me, and that's what D tier's for. All right. Next is The Saint's Magic Power is Omnipotent, which was on Funimation for the spring season. This show, actually, when I heard it was announced, it inspired me to find the novels and read translations of it, so I kind of went into this already knowing how it was going to go down. But I will admit, watching the show was more entertaining than reading the books, at least the translations I found. Like, no knock on the author, because that's hard, and translation and localization is hard, but the anime seemed to inject more character into the world versus the books, which were kind of more expository than really. Yeah, essentially the anime injected a lot more personality into the characters and the world. Let's make it a little better. Boop. It's very slice of life isekai. She gets summoned but ignored because two girls get summoned and the prince thinks the other girl is going to be the hero. So she's just kind of like doing her daily life, studying herbs and stuff. Turns out she is like the superhero they were waiting for, but it's all played very kind of like blasé, and she just studies stuff and has a little bit of a romance spin. Like there's a lot of like hot dudes. This, in most situations, this would be like a reverse harem anime, but no, apparently there's really only like one romantic interest, but just a lot of hot dudes around her. It was nice. It was pleasant. I enjoyed it, but it didn't excite me. I wasn't like raring to watch it every week. But the animation was nice and the plot was cute, and it was a relaxing show. It's gonna go in the B. Oh god. I moved the thing. Sorry. There we go. Next is Esu Dyna Zenon. I have to say it like that. That was on Funimation for the spring season. It was a show. So many people freaking loved this show. Maybe I had too high expectations for it, but same thing happened with the other Esu one. I forget what it's called. Gridman, that one. Where, like, I enjoyed parts of it, but I will give Dyna Zenon credit in that I liked the characters way more. They had more development in this one, but it was still like slow development, which was a cool alternate take. So that you get the high-paced, fast action of like tokusatsu monster kaiju fights, but then like the characters were just so, and I'm gonna use the word again, blasé. They just didn't like care. Like half the time it's like, hey, we gotta train against these kaiju, and they're like, okay, or nah, I gotta go to school. I'm like, what? It was a weird contradiction that kind of threw me for a lot. It was good. I don't see myself really caring about it so much. So don't kill me, everyone. I'm gonna put it in the B tier. But if you like giant robots, I mean, it's good, and it's got cool character designs. It just wasn't good enough to like wow me. But that's just on me. Next is, Attack on Titan final season. I watched this on Crunchyroll, and it was for the winter season. It's only half a season. The rest is coming out, I think, in fall or this winter. But despite that, I didn't actually know that when I was watching, and so, like, I was super hype. And I will admit, like, this season, it kept the hype train going. Like, each week I was like, oh shit, what's gonna go down? Or, oh man, what's happening? Or, how are these people gonna interact? And like, oh no! I don't even know. As you see, I went off the rails. It was good. It was good. It got me back into Attack on Titan, because I will be honest, Season 3, Part 1, killed the hype a lot for me. So when I heard Season 4 was coming out, I watched Season 3, Part 2, and I was like, oh shit, this is good again. And then Season 4, like, goes completely kind of crazy, and, despite knowing how it ends in the manga, I'm still waiting for the cool hype of the end of it, and then it will be the end of an era. It's Attack on Titan will be over. I give it an A. Even though it was only half a season, it was worth watching, definitely. But I'm probably not gonna buy it. Okay, next we have is Those Snow White Notes, which was on Crunchyroll in the spring season. This was a pretty cool show. It was unexpected. It's about shamisen music, essentially, whereas this one guy loves playing shamisen but doesn't like competing. He just wants to play like his grandpa played, but he gets pulled into the world of competition and joins a school club, kind of forced into it. But the main part I really liked about the show was all the different shamisen songs that they played. Like, if you appreciate shamisen music, it's in here. It's all in here. It's good. Probably each episode, maybe there were a couple they skipped, had a different song in it, and they would play like the full songs and kind of show all the fingerings. Like, it was really well done animation. So I appreciated that. The show itself, the characters, the main dude's kind of an asshole, but like you could see where he's coming from, but he's still kind of an asshole. I don't know. He was hard to watch. And the ending was kind of like a hey, you should read the manga because we're gonna end it here, but it gets bigger in the manga. But like, why am I gonna read the manga when I can hear the music in the anime? So that's a kind of a disappointment. But I say, I almost want to give this an A, but I think I'm gonna have to stick it in the B one, only because of the ending and the characters not really liking it. But the music, if you really like shamisen music, it's worth a watch, definitely. Like, that'd be the reason to go in A's, because I like the shamisen music. But it gets a B. Next is Mr. Osumatsu, or Osumatsu-san, which was on Crunchyroll. And they finished up season 3 in the spring season. It started before that, but whatever. Since it finished in spring, I'll just review it now. I like Osumatsu-san. It's funny, it's weird. Not every episode or every skit makes me laugh, but I don't think all of them are supposed to. They have some weirdly heartfelt moments and like deep moments, but then stupid moments too. So all in all, the mix is fun. I know there's at least 1 or 2 moments that just made me crack up in this season, so that's always worth it. And the animation is still stellar, and the weird stuff they do is still great. And the I think the ending song I really enjoyed. So yeah, if you liked seasons 1 and 2, you're gonna like season 3. If you didn't like them and it's not your type of humor, you're not gonna like it. So I enjoyed it, but I'm probably not gonna think about it again. It goes in B. There's gonna be a lot in B, I think. It takes a lot to impress me, but it also takes a lot to make me hate something. So I'm a big mid-range person. Next is the Promise Neverland Season 2, which was on Funimation in the winter season. And boy, did it disappoint a lot of people. I have not read the manga, so it didn't necessarily have that opportunity to disappoint me. However, I will admit the last... And no actual spoilers here. I'm going to talk about the last episode, but not in a spoiler way. The last episode, the last half, like the second half of the last episode, has like a slideshow of things that happen. And that slideshow probably could have been a whole 12-episode season itself. So like, you get a story resolution, and then they're like, and then all this stuff happened, and then it's, hey, it's ending. Which was like, what? Kind of very confusing. So I'm not going to judge this based off the part that pissed everybody off the most, which is skipping the Goldie Pond arc, I believe it's called, because I didn't read the manga, so that didn't make me mad. But a lot of things in this season just kind of happen way too coincidentally, like, oh, this happened, but we're saved by this, oh, this. It was all just like Deus Ex Machina. Things went right way too quickly, way too often, especially compared to the first season. It wasn't bad, but it was kind of an unsatisfying ending after the hype of season 1. So I'm gonna put it in the C because I didn't hate it, but I just wished it could have ended better, or it could have been a better send-off to the show. And next up is ReZero, Starting Life in Another World, Season 2, Part 2, which was on Crunchyroll in winter. This is another, like, it's hard to review these because if you liked ReZero Season 1 and Season 2 Part 1, you're gonna love Season 2 Part 2. So, I don't know what to tell you. It's great. I love ReZero. So this was good. Honestly, Season 1 I kind of enjoyed more on a whole, just because I personally love the where he has to, like, where he dies and has to come up with plans to fix everything despite dying a lot. Unlike the first season and the first half of the second season, this second half of the second season was more about Subaru trying to stay alive rather than figuring out how to solve problems through his deaths, but it was still pretty exciting, and it brought a good ending. Like, it ended an arc, so, like, I don't know if they're going to do a season 3, I hope they will, and the light novels are still going, but even if they don't, like, they ended at a place where it's okay to end. There's no, like, there's still a lot of world left to explore, but no crazy cliffhangers, and it was a solid mystery, crazy season overall, so, like every other season of ReZero, it gets an A, because I buy that series, or I asked for it for Christmas. Let's see, next is Tokyo Revengers, and this is on Crunchyroll. It just started spring season. It's actually going into the summer season, so I don't have a full review, but so far it is it's pretty dang cool. It's kind of goofy because they're like in junior high or something, but it's a time traveling show with like, hey, if we fix this now, then in the future it'll be better, but then they fix something and then something else just gets even worse, and you know, it kind of goes crazy like that. But the characters are all pretty cool. The plot is interesting. The time travel itself is kind of wonky, so you have to just, like, you know, suspend your belief to make it work. But I'm liking where it's going, and this the season, I guess the 12th episode just ended in a very, like, oof place. Like, So I'm definitely raring to go in the second season or the second half, whatever it's gonna be called. So far, let's say even if it just ended where it ended, I'm very pleased with what it's doing because the characters are great, their interactions are great. There's some character growth I can expect in the future. They haven't even introduced like all the characters that are shown in this little clip here. But Mikey is awesome and also scary as hell. And Draken, yeah, Draken, the guy with he's like the long blonde braid on the right-hand side over there. He got his tattoo on his face in like 5th grade. I'm like, oh yeah, that seems realistic. But either way, it's a fun show, and right now it actually gets an A because I'm very much enjoying it. I like to see what's going to happen each week with that one. So next up is Wonder Egg Priority, and this was on Funimation. During the winter season, it did just have a special episode air during the spring season that was kind of like I thought it was going to be a conclusion episode. It was not. So, I was trying to explain this show to someone, and trying to explain it, it just kept getting crazier. But essentially, these 4 girls are on a mission to protect girls in their dreams, other girls in their dreams who have committed suicide, and like if they can save enough girls in those dreams, their friends will come back to life. And it's got a lot of weird darkness, obviously with the theme of suicide, so trigger warnings. The characters all have, like, there's some fun, happy moments where they're just, young high school girls, and then all of a sudden it'll switch to like really weird or traumatic stuff that happens to them. But it's kind of like, it's a cool balance that it throws you off. So it's a kind of a whiplash balance, but that keeps you in tune with the season. Like, I really liked where it was going. And to be honest, it takes a lot for me to really get into a show that doesn't have any dudes in it, I don't watch a lot of shows that don't have dudes just because, visual appeal. But this one, before I'd even seen a trailer or anything, I just looked at this art, actually, and I was like, this looks like it could be one of those shows that pulls me in. And it was. And then the special episode happened, and half of it was just a review of the series, and then half of it was like, wow, they just added on a whole bunch of stuff that just makes the series even crazier. And I'm not going to spoil it, but I don't know. I'm hoping there's a season 2, because they have not solved anything. However, I really liked it, and it had some really cool visuals, really cool characters, and so I'm not going to buy it right away when it comes out, but I would buy that on sale. That goes in the A. Next is... here is the exception. This is not on Crunchyroll or Funimation. I think it was on Sentai, but I think that was a super censored version. This is Redo of Healer. And I did not watch it on Sentai. I watched it through the power of the internet, and I sailed the 7 seas just because I had to see how bad it was. The whole premise of this show is the healer dude who's on the left-hand side there. He got really messed with during his whole life. Basically, he was used, abused. Someone got him addicted to drugs, fantasy drugs, but whatever, because it's a fantasy show, so that they could abuse his healing powers and make him never refuse. But somehow he levels up so high that he can turn back time with his healing power. Don't ask, I don't care. And so he does everything over again, but this time he knows what's going to happen, so he's super powerful, so he screws with the people who screwed with him, and basically does a lot of things that this could have been a hentai, but it's not hentai enough to be hentai, and not good enough to really watch on your own otherwise. It's a shock value. That's all it is. This anime was just like, how can we shock you this episode? But honestly, they kind of blew that load early, to be crass. Like, the first couple episodes, you're like, whoa, and then not as crazy things happen, or maybe you're just too used to it because they already did some things to ladies and to dudes, to be honest, and there's a lot of uber violence, and it's just a revenge fantasy. It's not the worst anime I've ever seen, I'll admit it. Like, everyone was like, oh, it's so bad. wasn't that bad, but it just wasn't entertaining enough to really be worth it. The animation was decent, but kind of spotty at times, and like, I don't know, it was... This one I'm going back and forth between a C and a D. Like, I didn't hate it, but it wasn't really worth watching. Did I like it better than Joan, the Princess of Blood and Snow? Actually, yes, I did. So I'm going to put it in a C for now, just because I'm going to forget about it. It wasn't everything everyone was spazzing about, but it wasn't good enough to recommend or say, ooh, you should watch it either. Alright, I already know what this one is. This one is Skate the Infinity. It was on Funimation in the winter season, and it was amazing. It is by the same person who did Free, and Free is one of my favorite anime of like all time ever, because it was just so good animation wise, so good character wise. Like, these people felt, I don't want to say they felt like real, because obviously it's anime and they're kind of goofy caricatures, but like their interactions and like their motions and how they all worked around each other and their friendships and their emotions was all so real. And this creator, who I guess also directed Banana Fish, but I didn't watch that because I know that's depressing, basically recaptured that whole feeling in Skate the Infinity with the friends and interacting, but they amped it up to like 11 with the crazy. Because these skaters are crazy. Like, they have weird kind of like almost superhero identities when they go skating, and the skateboarding itself is crazy, and the main bad guy, I guess the antagonist, Adam, is just, he's just beyond, just beyond. But the friendship between Langa and Reki, who are the two in the front you can see there, is just so cute. And like, Reki actually goes through some realistic feelings, because basically he taught the other dude how to skateboard, but then the other dude's a prodigy and just like surpassed him. So, you know, there's those feelings of just like, well, what good am I kind of thing you go through. And I don't want to spoil anything. It's super cute. It's super amazing. You would think it's boys love, but it's not technically, so you don't worry about that if you're like, ew, I don't want to watch it. It's not boys love, but you could totally watch it with that lens on it. It was great, and as soon as it goes up for pre-order, I'm gonna buy that. I'm gonna buy it because it's Funimation and it should be at an okay price. So yeah, it gets an S ranking, by the way. Yeah, Skate the Infinity, Super S. If there was I could make a Super S. I'm not going to, though. Next up is Mushoku Tensei, Jobless Reincarnation, and that was on Funimation in the winter season. This one was pretty good. It's an isekai, but it was like not the first isekai ever, but one of the first light novel isekais to really get big in Japan. So it took a while for it to get animated, but they did a good job with it. The world is really expansive, like the animation is really good. The characters are where some people might have a problem. Like, it's problematic a little bit. Our main hero is reborn as a kid, but he's got the mind of basically a 40-year-old pervert from Japan. So he'll do things like steal panties, or, you know, basically, it's problematic if you can't get over that part. But if you can, or if you're just, you know, you've watched enough anime where it doesn't faze you anymore, this is a really good show with a great world, great characteristics, and magic system, I guess, better than the characters. The characters are okay. They're all very remarkable, I guess. Like, they don't blend in, like, you know who's who. They have good personalities, but they're not good people necessarily. I liked it. I think there's more coming because it kind of ends on a cliffhanger, but not like a super cliffhanger, but there's definitely stuff that's gonna happen. But it was good. I recommend it, like I said, if you can handle the perversion. I give it an A because I can handle it. I've seen enough. Speaking of weird perverted things, this is Fairy Ronmaru, and it was on Crunchyroll in the spring season. They're magical boys, and they transform into like buff ass fairies with bulges. I think my sister showed me like a trailer for this and I was like, oh my, what is that? I didn't expect much out of it, to be honest. Like, I'm like, alright, I'll watch this weird fairy magical boy transformation show. Because it's by the same guys who did like Magical High School Boys Defense Club. I forget what it was called exactly. Or Cute High School Earth Defense Club. Which was another magical boys transformation show. I didn't love that one. I kind of feel the same about this one, but I like this one a little better. It's neat. The fairies have to basically help humanity to get a certain magical power to help reinvigorate the fairy world, but they do it in a little bit of a like people compared it to Madoka because they'll go into their whoever their humans, usually it's a lady because they always help ladies for some reason, but they'll go into like their psyche and kind of fight these really artistic battles. And then stuff happens, and then there's some kissing, and then there's some deep stuff and some things about like stripper moms and also Shonen Jump, except they called it Shonen Dump manga artists and how badly they're treated, but also just weird, goofy magical boy transformation fairy stuff. It was a mishmash of things, but it was well animated and it was unique enough to keep me watching. It didn't. It could have repeated into just normal magical girl, but it kind of pulled a 180 and did some other things. I don't know. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it enough that it gets a B. It exceeded my expectations for it. We'll just say that. Okay. Okay. So I think this one wins the longest title of both seasons. It's Full Dive. The ultimate next-gen full dive RPG is even shittier than real life. And it was on Funimation in the spring season. It was okay. This is one of the other few isekai that I actually watched in the first half of the year. There weren't too many, surprisingly. But it's kind of isekai, kind of not. He's essentially just playing a game. He doesn't get trapped in the game or anything. He just is playing the game. But the game is so realistic that, like, to heal, it takes, like, you have to put an herb on your wound, and it still takes 2 weeks, and you can feel, like, pain and feel hunger and stuff in the game. It's got a lot of weird potty humor, because, like, he ends up peeing himself at one point, and then, like, his title in the game becomes that, and there's other weird stuff going on, and the characters are kind of wonky. Like, there's a girl who wants to torture him, and there's a girl who wants to just kill him and also slice fruit, and a fairy that is the game store girl who just wants him to beat the game so she can marry him and show off to the only other person who's ever beaten the game. I don't know. It had some fun moments, it had some unique moments, but it also had just some like, this is kind of moments. I didn't hate watching it. I liked it for the most part, but it didn't do anything to make me like really care about it or look forward to another season. Like, if there is another season, I don't know if I'm actually going to watch it. So it's not bad, and if you like it, it'll be good for you, but it goes in C for me because it wasn't really for me, but it was well done for what it is, I guess. It was a different concept because you didn't get trapped in the game. And next is Zombieland Saga Revenge! This is the sequel season to Zombieland Saga, which is a bunch of girls throughout the decades and centuries, for one of them, get brought back as zombies idols. They're zombie idols. They get brought back to save Saga, which is a prefecture of Japan, a few islands of Japan. I'm not sure because I suck at geography. They don't really explain much about how they're going to save Saga or why Saga needs to be saved, although this season does have a flashback and some more explanation to that, which was very nice. It's this show on a whole, first season and second season, it's fun. It's got some really cute episodes, some really kind of like episodes that almost make you cry, and then goofy weirdness that's just kind of like, oh, that was okay, along with some cool idol pop songs, and they're done in like the CG style. I don't know. This would have probably gotten like a B maybe for this season because it wasn't as good as the first one, I don't think. However, the ending, the very, very end after the credits and stinger, that pushes it up to an A because I'm like, oh shit, I need to know what happens next. I'm not gonna say anything about. Oh my god. Okay, I wanna just. There we go. Sorry. I'm not going to say anything about it, but that won me over, and I'm going to try and figure out what happens next with Zombieland Saga. And the music and the animation is on point, and the voice actors are great. So yeah, it gets an A for me. I say watch it. It's fun. Alright, next up is Koikimo. I forget what this is called, like the full Japanese title, but it was called Koikimo, and it was on Crunchyroll in the spring season. And it's cute. But also people have problems with it because it involves a, like, I think he's like 26 or something year old dude, the blonde guy in the middle, who totally crushes on and falls in love with a high school girl, his sister's high school classmate friend. And his personality being what it is, he's very pushy, but in like a cute way. Like he'll buy her gifts every day and call her and like want to say hi, and even though she tries to reject him, but kind of in that like, I don't know, really kind of way, so he just keeps pushing and she relents. So it's weird like that. If you view it as creepy, it's creepy. But if you view it as just a rom-com that it was cute. There's shenanigans that happen, and other people who, like another high school boy who likes the girl, and a office worker girl who likes the guy, and weird situations. But on the whole, it's just kind of fun comedy with a couple of serious moments that ends nicely. I think it will end in an appeasing enough way that people who were freaking out about the relationship won't freak out too badly without spoiling anything. But on the whole, it was just a nice, cute, fun rom-com. That's all it is. It's animated nicely. The characters are fun. I liked it. I'm probably not gonna remember too much about it afterwards, so it's gonna get in the B. But it was nice. If you're looking for just some fun rom-com, I suggest it. Oh, and you can deal with the age gap, I guess. Alright, after that, Combatants will be dispatched. This was on Funimation in the spring season. It is by the same person who did Konosuba. It is not as fun as Konosuba. It had some funny moments and I did laugh, but I think the problem is just how the characters gel in this one. It's not as good as the Konosuba foursome. Like, the top two girls barely even do anything, especially like the redhead. The vibe between the main dude and the blonde girl, that's fun. Like, that worked out. The character with silver hair is kind of just all over the place. People's motivations kind of change every which way just to make the plot funnier. Like I said, it made me laugh every now and again, and it had good animation, but it wasn't enough for me. I don't know. Like, this is between a B and a C. Like, I watched it all, but there were some times I'm like, maybe we should drop it. So if I was thinking that, I guess it should go in the C. It's not for me. It was fun, but not fun enough. That sounds bad. I don't know. Give it a shot, but don't expect too much of it. Like, don't expect Konosuba out of it. Next up is How Not to Summon a Demon Lord Omega. This was the second season to this show. I watched the first season, and honestly, it was fun. It was stupid but fun. It's like pervy and just like goofy isekai harem anime. The second season wasn't as good. I think it's because of the new girls introduced. Let me just actually change that by saying the pink-haired robot maid chick. She's an A+ amazing waifu. She was worth the second season. The priestess and the bunny girl, they were mid or less. They're not my favorites, and they were like the main stars, or at least the priest girl was like a main star for the season. There were shenanigans, there was good animation, there was crazy magic, there was boobs, there was haha, like double entendre situations, some just single entendre situations, but I think this one's B tier. Like, the first season was probably like A tier because it was just fun enough for me to actually really remember it and enjoy it. Second season, it didn't quite live up to it, but that's okay. And see, next up is, yes, Dr. Stone Wars. Not my thing. The first Dr. Stone I watched just because everybody was saying how cool it was. It was alright. The second season I watched because I was watching with someone who watched the first season with me, so I'm like, alright, we'll continue watching it, I guess. It's still not for me. I don't know what it is. Like, there's nothing inherently bad about the show, but something about, like, the pacing or just, like, the characters and how they act. I just don't care about any of them. Which is really bad, because they're not bad characters, I guess, but I don't know. They don't do it for me at all. Something about that. The science is interesting, but also kind of goofy, because, like, he'll go into, like, how things actually work, but then the way stuff turns out is sometimes a little too convenient, or a little like, what? Or how did that happen? There's injuries that, like, should kill people that don't. I don't know. A lot of people like this show, and I don't blame them. Like I said, it has all the, like, the stepping stools that should make it a good show. I just don't. It's not for me. So it gets a C from me, which I feel bad because some people are going to be like, what, a C? This is a great shonen show. Nope, not for me. Gets a C. I recommend it if you like the prospect, but I'm not going to watch a third season if it happens. Next up is the hidden dungeon only I can enter. I am not afraid of harem anime. In fact, some of them are really fun. This isn't one of them. It's just so milquetoast. Like, all the girls you see on that screen, besides his sister, who's in the very far back, who has a very small role, but she's kind of goofy. But she doesn't get much screen time. But the other girls you see all like him for some reason or other, but they're all just... they're like the same. They all have no real personality. Everyone's just nice. And the guy's just nice, but he has to, like... He can gain extra powers by fulfilling his desires. So he could eat good food, he could get lots of riches, or he could, you know, fulfill his sexual desires. So he can get, like, points to do more magic skills by, like, grabbing boobs or something. But he doesn't want to grab the boobs because he's a nice guy, but his situations happen and he needs the powers and stuff like that. But it's just, it's so ugh. Nothing happens that I care about. The characters are all just generic. It wasn't a good harem. I was disappointed. So it goes in the D. Sorry, it goes in the D rank. We'll go with that. I don't suggest it. Unless you're, like, desperate for harem anime. After that is... Suppose a kid from the last dungeon boonies moved to a starter town. Oh, sorry, I forgot to say that Dr. Stone Wars and the Hidden Dungeon Only I Can Enter were on Crunchyroll in the winter season, by the way. The Boonies one was on Funimation for winter season. This is another show where it was just kind of... okay, I guess. Things happened. It was funny. The main character is stupidly overpowered because he basically grew up in a he was the weakest kid in a village where the strongest heroes ever are. But then he moves to, like, a starter town, like, you know, JRPG starter town. It's not an isekai, but they kind of run off the same rules. So he moves to that town, and he thinks he's just super weak, and, like, he'll slap off a giant locust monster that other knights have hard time killing, but he'll be like, no, I just killed a bug, I'm so weak, and doesn't realize how strong he is compared to everyone around him now that he's moved. But those shenanigans can only last so long and be funny. The characters are actually okay. They made the show a little bit better because they all have their own motivations and wants of how to use the main character. Of course, they all fall in love with him too for some reason, even though he's, like, I don't know, he's oblivious as all heck, of course. So I guess this is like another harem anime in that effect. It was better than the dungeon only I Can Enter, but it doesn't leave much of a lasting impression. But it did have good animation and some good fights and some haha funny moments, so I'm gonna go ahead and give it a B, but it's like a low B. It's like a B minus. We're getting close to the end, folks, but not close enough. First, we have 2.43 Saiyan High School Boys Volleyball Team, which was on Funimation in the winter season. And I will tell you right now, I've only seen one season of Haikyuu, and I guess like the fourth movie because I went and saw that with my sister. So I don't have that like, oh, it's a volleyball anime, but it's not as good as Haikyuu attitude, which I understand. When you get really into something, when another show tries to steal, it's kind of same idea. You get defensive. But let me say, as someone who's only vaguely into Haikyuu, this is like a nice distraction. So I know that people are waiting for like the next season or something. It's not going to be the same because the characters are totally different and act differently, and there's some more different drama that goes on with like a prodigy. Well, it does have a prodigy and a guy who could be really good who works with that prodigy. But it's got some other cool stuff going on, like a really short captain who knows he's short but still wants to play. I guess that is kind of like Haikyuu. Anyway, I swear it's different than Haikyuu in some of the theming and the mood of the show. But so if you're really just dying for volleyball anime and you want to watch this, I'd say it's good. I liked it a lot actually. I probably liked it as much as I liked Haikyuu. So I would suggest it. I don't. It's volleyball and it's sports anime and there's drama. That's just how it goes. I give it a go. Don't judge it based off Haikyuu, but if you're a huge Haikyuu fan, you still might like this one. It goes with a B for me because it wasn't the best show ever, but it was good. Oh man, I'm sorry. These are. I don't know how to make this not be overlapped, but whatever. Here we go. This is Dr. Ramune, Mysterious Disease Specialist, and it was on Crunchyroll in the winter season, and this probably wins my most surprising anime of both seasons. It really surprised me in that it was good, like really good. I don't think a lot of people gave it a shot, which I can't necessarily blame them. The first 3 episodes are kind of like shock value weirdness, but if you keep watching, it gets like, there's some heart-wrenching episodes like dealing with death and just other things. I don't want to spoil it, but wow, it gets kind of dark and emotional, but also in a fresh, like, nice way. Like, the main character, Dr. Ramune, kind of acts like a jerk all the time, but he's that kind of, I guess, he's not a tsundere jerk, but you know how they have the silly rogue with the heart of gold? He's like that. And there's some dark times that he gets people through. But like I can see, like the first episode, this girl cries condiments out of her eyes because she's been put into show business and doesn't want to be. And like the second episode is called, well, it's basically a dude's nether regions get replaced by like a spongy food object because he's been doing some things that he shouldn't have been doing, like cheating on his girlfriend, I think. So it deals with people who get cursed or curse themselves because of their happenings around them, and he solves that. But like, yeah, the first few are weird shock value ones, but if you keep watching, it was so good. Like, this is one that I really looked forward to every week. It wasn't like amazing S tier, but this is a high rank A tier. And like I said, I don't think anybody watched this show, which is really sad. It's worth watching. So if you're looking for something to watch and can get past those few episodes that seem too goofy, definitely give Dr. Ramune a go. I'm gonna give this an A tier. It's like an A plus for me. We'll just start going to the side over here. And then next is Skate Leading Stars, which was on Funimation in the winter series or winter season. And man, this show should have been like one of my favorites because it's ice skating and it's like cool dudes and there's music and they skate and have angst with each other, but it was not what I wanted. It was not great. I don't know. Like, the animation was fine. The songs that they skated to were super generic. Their outfits were something else, let me tell you. Like, you're just seeing their school uniforms there. The outfits they perform in were not flattering, at least not to me. And then the characters themselves, the main guy in the redhead, he's a jerk. He's an ass. And he doesn't get better. Like, he has a minor character development moment, I guess. But he's still kind of just a I'm gonna do it my way asshole the whole series through. I don't know. There were too many characters for one thing, so it was only 12 episodes, I think, 12 or 13. So not everybody even got a chance to be delved deep into. They introduced too many other alternate schools. Too much was going on. Like, the first whole half was like just training, and then all of a sudden they were like, and it's tournament arc. I don't know. It had all the parts where it could have been great, but it failed at almost all of them. The success it did have was with the character designs. They are pretty. I like them. But all in all, it just was... I almost thought about dropping it, mostly because of the main character himself, but I wanted to like this show a lot. I could not do it. So it's gonna get a... It's gonna get a C, only because I didn't hate watching it. I said I almost dropped it, but I never actually thought about it. It was kind of like, should I drop this? And then I'm like, no, I gotta see if what happens, or if this character does something. So it gets a C, if only because it did have enough entertainment, but it's just, it could have been so much more. It could have been so much better, and it wasn't, and that saddens me, and that's why it gets a C. Yep. Oops. Next one is Back Arrow, and this was on Funimation. It was a double core one, so it was between winter and spring. There were things that happened in this show. Like, this is a weird one. It kind of like Skate Leading Stars. It had the building block pieces to be amazing, but it stumbled. The pacing is awkward. It's either too fast. You know what? I was gonna say it's either too fast or too slow. No, it was just too fast. The pacing is too fast. A lot of stuff happens, and you're like, whoa, okay, that happened. Okay, and now we're here. The characters aren't very good for the most part. They're all very distinct, I'll give you that, but they didn't make me care about them. Except for like two characters, maybe. There's Shu, like the dude you can kind of see with like the light purplish white hair. He was actually a pretty cool character. He reminded me a lot of not Clovis. I don't know what his name was, from Code Geass, the white-haired scientist brother. Speaking of Code Geass, someone behind Code Geass was also part of this, and I think someone from like Trigger was part of this too, or Gurren Lagann or something. So that's what I'm saying. It had the building blocks to be amazing, and it did do a lot of weird stuff. It definitely ramped up in terms of like what's happening in the show, because it starts off kind of simple, and then by the end, I'm not gonna spoil it, but it sure did some stuff at the end that was very Gurren Lagann escalation. I will give you that. I just wish I cared about the characters more, or cared about the plot more, to like make it more exciting. So it's gonna get a B from me. It's definitely, I can recommend it if you're looking for something kind of just fun and action that goes crazy off the rails. Like, this is good for that, but it's not something I really cared about by the end, or like I don't want to buy it. It was a fun watch, but it didn't sync with me. And the last one that I did watch for these seasons all the way through is Jujutsu Kaisen. I think this is the second season, the second half of the second season. Either way, I watched it on Crunchyroll in the spring season. Spring? No, winter, sorry. I watched it on Crunchyroll in the winter season. And Jujutsu Kaisen on the whole is amazing. I love it. It's made shonen fun for me again. I mean, not that I ever hated shonen, but I wasn't really into a lot of the new ones that are coming around or ending. Like, I don't really like Demon Slayer, so sue me. But when Jujutsu Kaisen was like, hey, I'm like, yeah, I could dig this. Maybe because it's essentially Naruto, only with the curse slang. Actually, it gets a lot darker than Naruto too. Like, people die in horrible ways, and there's some dark subject matter and interesting things going down. But you can even see from this, like, there's reverse Kakashi Sensei. There's a Sasuke who's from a high-profile family and hates everything. There's, I mean, our main dude, who is basically Naruto but with pink hair, because he's got a demon trapped inside him that people are afraid of, but he can use it and use its power to be a good, not ninja, but curse exterminator. The sole exception is the girl on the team. She's awesome. She beats Sakura any day of the week. She's just fun. So, but yeah, all the characters in the show are actually really a lot of fun. This Jujutsu Kaisen is essentially like Shonen Jump, all the best parts of different Shonen Jumps put together into one anime to make like just a really solid, entertaining shonen show. It doesn't necessarily do too much different, but it doesn't need to, because what it does is like the best of what it could be. And I am all down for Jujutsu Kaisen. It goes in the S tier for me. Like, I like it so much I ordered statues, or not statues, I ordered Figmas for it, and like I'm really into I'm into it. I'm down for it. I like where it's going. I'm buying the manga. I don't usually do that for Shonen Jump series, but I'm doing it. So those are my recommendations, or my tier list for the shows I watched in the spring and winter 2021 season. And how many shows was that? So that's like 31 shows I watched seasonally as they were airing. And that's not counting the ones I dropped, or the other shows that I've just been watching also randomly. But I want to go and talk about some of the shows that I missed, and maybe why I missed them, and how I will go back to them. And honestly, I think all these are from the spring season. There were a lot of good shows spring season. I chose some not so great ones to follow through with, but hey, that gives me time to now kind of go back and watch the ones that came out all together, like binge it. It's the binging time. So one of the first ones that a lot of people, especially a lot of Anitubers, have been talking about is Odd Taxi. And this is on Crunchyroll. And I'll be honest, I skipped over it because I'm like, I don't feel like watching an animal anime right now. It's not that I don't like them. I watched BNA and I watched B-Stars. I just didn't feel like it, especially with these character designs. They're not doing it for me. They're too like weird cutesy animal. But everything I've heard about the show sounds like something I'd like. I almost wish they did it only with, like, humans instead of animals. I probably would have picked it up then. But I'm going to give this one a go, just because it sounds like the plot is amazing. And I'm down for that, so it goes in the will watch eventually. I watch anime during my lunch hours sometimes, so that might be one of the ones I do there. Another one. Alright, actually I'm probably never going to watch this one, but I'm going to bring it up anyway. It's To Your Eternity, which is also on Crunchyroll. I saw this, and I saw previews, and I saw, wow, this is going to be good. This is going to be an amazing anime that makes you cry. And you know what? I don't need that in my life. I don't need an anime that is essentially just like tears the anime. So I respect that it's great and emotional and goes through a lot of stuff. I don't wanna watch it, but I'm gonna put it in here because maybe I'll watch it eventually when I just want to cry. Here's one where I think it started late and so it got away from me. But this is Welcome to Demon School, Iruma-kun, Season 2. This is a super just cute show. The blue-haired kid, Iruma-kun, is essentially, he acts like an even more cinnamon-rolled Deku from My Hero Academia. He's sweet, he's nice, he's just trying to get along. He's a human trapped in like a demon school where they eat humans, so he has to pretend to be a demon. He makes all these friends, and through like weird circumstances, people think he's powerful, and it's fun. It's fun, it's cute, it's definitely made for kind of like a younger audience, but it's still got some nice character depth in there. I liked this show. Like I said, it just started late in the spring season, so I already had too much on my plate. But I'm definitely gonna watch this. Keep watching it because I liked the first season a lot. So I'm gonna watch it eventually. I'm probably gonna watch it sooner rather than later. If I could resize this, that'd be bigger. Just because, I don't know, because it's cute and it makes me feel good. Another one. Oh yeah, Vivy Fluorite Eyes Song. I was going to watch this during the spring season. It's on Funimation. Iruma-kun is on Crunchyroll, by the way. It might be on both, but I watched it on Crunchyroll. Vivy was going to be one I watched, but again, I had a lot on my plate, and the first episode of Vivy is a double episode, and I did not have time to watch it. I just didn't have time, so I figured I would wait around to see how it goes and if people liked it, because it is an anime original, so it could have gone great or it could have crashed into the ocean and been terrible. Apparently it went pretty great, so it's on my list of I should watch it eventually. I will. I feel bad I didn't watch it during the actual season. It just, like I said, I was already watching like 14 or 15 shows, and I didn't have another hour to spare to start this one. So sorry, Vivy. I heard you were good, and I think you got a good amount of attention from people, but I'll watch it eventually. And the last one that I do plan to watch eventually is 86, although I think this one's still going, again, to a second season or second core. 86 because it's 86 is the title. It also was one where I was gonna think about watching it, but it looked really depressing, and I was like, nah, I don't want this. I don't need this right now. However, everything I hear about it is actually pretty cool. Like, depressing still, don't get me wrong, but pretty cool. Like, I guess it's, there are people who are used as combat fodder, essentially, where the other countries they're at war at use drones, and this country fakes that they're using drones without pilots, but they actually have pilots in them, but they're just people who don't meet the expectations of what the country wants their people to be. I don't know too much about it, but that's what it sounds like. So, you know, it's a whole squadron of basically rejects, and the person who is part of the country who's over the squadron, and getting to know them, and they just dying and stuff. So it's like I said, it sounded depressing, but it also sounds like really good. So I'm gonna watch it, but since it's not complete yet, maybe it's good that I haven't started it yet. I will let it run out and hear what the word on the street is before I dive in. But that's the plan for that one. Whee! So that's the list. It's kind of small. Sorry. Here, let's make it full screen. Yeah, now you can see them all. The 3 S tiers. You can agree with me. You don't have to agree with me. Everybody's got different tastes, but Pretty Boy Detective Club, Skate the Infinity, and Jujutsu Kaisen are S tier for me. They were all amazing shows where I was like, come on, next week it needs to come now so I can watch my new episode. It was great. The A tier ones, Backflip, which was surprisingly good. Attack on Titan. I mean, it's Attack on Titan. You're gonna like it if you've already watched the first 3 seasons. Duh. ReZero, which if I was ranking the whole season, like season 1 and season 2, it probably would be S tier, but just the second half of season 2 was kind of like A tier for me. Tokyo Revengers has a chance to move to S tier depending on how it goes, but it's not quite over yet, so it's A tier. Wonder Egg Priority was A tier, even though it went into an even more insane zone. I still liked it and want to know what happens next with those girls. Mushoku Tensei, A tier because it's got some good world building, good people. Zombieland Saga Revenge is A tier, mostly because of the ending and because it was solid overall. And then Dr. Ramune was my A+ tier because it's a great show and I want you to watch it. That if anything you take away from the A tiers is give Dr. Ramune a chance. I'm not going to go over the rest of them. You could see them. You can agree with me. You can disagree with me. You can tell me why I'm wrong. I won't believe you, but you could tell me anyway, and I will listen to you and go, okay, we have different tastes. But that's what I watched during the first half of this year with the seasonal anime. So I'll keep this going. Maybe I won't wait for the whole another half a year. Maybe I'll do another one of these after the summer season. We'll see how I feel. If nobody likes this anime episode, that's okay too. I can never do one again. It's just I watched so much anime. I wanted to finally talk about it somewhere where someone might listen and maybe agree or be like, oh, I'll give that one a shot. We'll see. I want more people to love anime. And I don't hang out with a lot of people who watch seasonal anime, so this is my suggestions to those who are like, hey, I don't watch it seasonally, tell me what was good. Here you go. Here's what was good. Anyway, thank you for going along with this bootleg tier list anime episode. And hopefully you enjoy it. Go pick one of these series to watch if you like anime, and tell me if you liked it, or tell me one that I skipped on this list that I should give a watch and put in my will watch eventually column. But thanks for watching, and go watch anime. And I don't know how to end a tier list video, except here's my tier list. It's a video. Watch stuff. Tell me what you watched, and be amazing, and have fun. Bye! It's a veggie BLT pita! I totally suck at video games, but love to play them anyway.